Hey everyone, I'm Tom Anderson. I'm the CEO of Fias, and we are just about to come out with our first beta launch. And so, really exciting time for the company. Excited to show everybody the Fias platform. We're going to start letting people come in. It's going to be a closed beta, so we'll let people in kind of slowly at a time. The first people that sign up will be the first ones to come in. So, let's get to it with the first look at the Fias platform. All right, so here is the Fias platform. Fias is an AI platform, and like a lot of AI platforms, it has a central area that you can type and interact with AI. But Fias is a lot more than just that. So we have a full store. We've got 40 or 50 applications already that we call arches, and so this is the Arch store. In a lot of ways, you could think of Fias as a disintermediation platform. And what I mean by that is we cut out the middleman. You have one place to go to get all of the apps that you want to build. And so you have a variety of different apps. I can hit browse all and you can see a lot more of them. They range from professional productivity apps, apps to maintain your own data, calendar and contacts, things like that. We have apps that you can use to create images or modify images, different apps to interact with AI in different ways. So we've got quite a few applications already, but it's also a platform where anybody can create their own apps, very easily. And so in the end, what you have is a platform that ultimately will have thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of applications. And when you come to the Fias website, you'll be able to find any application for anything that you want to do. It works a lot like an app store, and you have like the kind of apps that you have on your phone where you click on the work top and you can go in and see any app that you're used to using, that you use often. You can move things around and kind of get set up exactly how you want, just like you do on your phone. But then you also can build not just phone level apps. You could build full professional, applications that are enterprise scale, for example. So it's a really powerful application platform. So on the first page, we have this concept where you can make a request. And so you type in anything that you want. So say, I would like to add images into my game. So just like any other AI, it'll respond. Great, several approaches you can take. One of the things that's different about Fias, though, is not only can you interact with AI the way you normally would. You could say, I want a recipe for brownies, or I have a blood test that I want, that I'm worried about, that type of thing. But at the end, it actually gives applications, arches, suggestions of what you can do. So if you want to add an image, well, maybe you want to use the image generator. And so you can come into the image generator and you can, enable, different panels that each are from a different, model or different provider. So one of the very first images I created when you very first could, create AI images, was a monkey wearing a cowboy hat, riding a pig. And so, this goes again to all these different models. They all start creating the images. You can get a feel for what model does what well, get a sense of kind of what art direction you want to go. And then you can, if you want to have more of this cartoony style, you could just, focus in on that, or you can interact with, multiple models at the same time. And so it's a really nice way that you don't have to get a subscription to all of these different kind of models, and be able to kind of more easily figure out what you're wanting to do. We have a full file system within Fias that you can go in and see all of the images that you made, for example. You can also interact with AI on it. And so let's say, for example, that you wanted to make an icon for your game. You could say, I want to make an icon. Could you set up all of the panels to be custom set to create icons? Please adjust any parameters to make the images best for icons. So you put in something like that. So you've got this Fias AI concept that can interact with the applications themselves. And so instead of going through and kind of learning a new user interface, just type out what you want. So there's 16 changes. Changed all the panels to one-to-one. Put different types of details in the panels, and then you can come in and say I want a calendar icon. So it'll go through and make it with those changes that we just made. So this image generator is just one arch, among all of the arches that we have. We have many different kinds of arches. You could have a similar type of interaction where you interact with multi-AI on chat. So here we've got a Chat GPT, a Claude, and a Gemini. We've got other models. We've got Grok. We'll add more over time. We've probably got 40 or 50 different kind of interfaces into external systems at this point. And so you come in with multi-AI, which came first, the chicken or the egg, just as an example. And so one thing that's kind of neat is it goes through and gives answers for from each of these different models. But you can also have kind of this custom design system that then creates a summary. And so we'll create a summary and they'll tell you, so if you're doing something, I mean, this is just a simple question, but if you were doing something that had a lot of different, a lot of complexity to it, and you want different points of view, see which model is best. Another trick I found with AI that again we designed into this arch is that when you're asking AI, again, especially when you start doing something more complicated, its opinion on stuff, it'll give you answers, and it'll go through and you put a little bit of information in, it gives you a lot of information out. That's generally what these LLM AI platforms do. And so the problem is that it's therefore making a lot of assumptions. And so we built in this kind of assumption model into the multi AI, where you could then come in and see the different assumptions from different models, see which models had different assumptions. So let's say you were doing a medical diagnosis. Again, you got a blood test that you were worried about. Something like this is really valuable because you get multiple points of view. You can see what it's assuming, and if it's making an assumption that's wrong, especially on a high consequence issue like a medical issue, you can come in and you can change it and run it back again, that type of thing. Okay, so let me show some of the other features in the platform now. So I already showed the worktop, where you can have all of your applications that you use often, organized exactly how you want to have them organized. You can make your initial requests that ties in the AI with arches and has the usual kind of back and forth that you have, with AI. I already showed the arch store. We have different types of arches. We have light and dark mode, so everything in Fias you can run in dark mode. A lot of people like that. I've actually gotten more used to it myself, with Fias. You have a number of settings, so as you start creating your own arches, you can put your arches, see all of your progress on your arches and the money you've made on them, here in the arch dashboard. Like any platform, you can buy credits or you can buy a subscription to interact with the AI. A lot of the applications you don't even need credits, though. A lot of them, the AI built them, but then you just use them. Again, you can see all of your data. We've got a very secure vault, platform for managing all your data, and the data all interacts with the AI system as well. So you can use the AI to talk to your email application and send an email, or use the AI to coordinate with your files and add an attachment, or check your contacts and then set up a email appointment. I'm sorry, a Zoom appointment, and then email everybody. So having access to all your data in this really secure way, and the way that the AI interacts safely into your data, is a really powerful concept. Kind of usual account settings, change your password, delete all your message history, things like that. We've got a really nice support system as well, and especially as we're getting started with the beta, you'll be able to come in, make a suggestion, report a bug, or just if you have a question, you can do it, and then you can see tickets that you have. And so, for example, you could say, like you know maybe saw the poll app. I would like to create a poll. How do I do that? So the AI has a RAG database that goes through and kind of takes you step by step through it. But then after it answers, it'll actually say, okay, well, here's the poll. So here's the instructions, and then you can go into the poll and you can create your own poll. All right, so the next thing I want to show is our ways that you can build arches. And so we have an arch builder, but you can also build arches through our plugin system. And so you come into the arch builder, and in the arch builder, you just say, you know, I want to do a new arch, or you could go, you know, to the arch dashboard that I showed before. So we'll go back to the arch builder, and I'm gonna say I want to build a new arch. So we have 3 different ways to build arches, and I'm going to do separate videos on actually building arches. So this is just going to be kind of a high-level overview of you know what you would do to get started. But you have 3 different ways to build an arch, and once you've built an arch, then you can publish it, and you can have in-app purchases in it, decide how you want to sell or monetize it, and then other people can start using it, and then you'll start making money. And so you can go through a guided process where the AI asks you questions, takes you through kind of a design process where it then shows you the overall architecture, again shows you assumptions, and then kind of takes you step by step through all of the different pieces that are a part of your arch. Again, arches are just our name for apps. The other way is to use the chat, and so you just hit the chat and just type in what you want and just iterate back and forth. It's not as much of a design process. So if you know specifically what you want, you can start with chat. If you want help and you're kind of new to these kind of systems, the guided process is nice. But then we've also got this nice plugin system. And the plugin system is a good solution if you really want to build a more complex, longer scale, professional kind of level arch. You want to maintain all of your source code, put your source code into a Git repository, get your own CI/CD pipeline going, things like that. And so you can build, on a Mac, a Windows, on Linux, or even, you could build on the web. We built a code repository that you can use with GitHub's code spaces. And so, it charges a little bit of money, but not too much. And so if you want to get started and your computer doesn't have quite the power, you can either use the guided or chat modes here, or build a code spaces where you control the software there. And it's nice how we have this set up. So if you want to build it on Windows, it'll take you through, there's all the instructions how to do it. You can use WSL on Windows. But let's say that feels a little intimidating. You can just say guide me. And so, hi, I'll walk you through setting up the Fias plugin development. Okay, so let's get started. And so you just tell it what you want to do as you're doing it, and any problems you run into, you can just explain to it. So do you have WSL2? Okay, so right off the bat, like I don't know what I know what WSL2 is, but let's say somebody didn't, right? So so you even just say, I don't know what WSL is. Right. And so then it'll just take a step back and go, okay, this is somebody that is a little bit more basic level, kind of getting going. There's no problem with that. No problem. WSL2 is Windows subsystem for Linux, and it'll just take you step by step. And if you don't know any step, you ask it. If something doesn't look right, you just paste what it is. It'll take you step by step, getting you ready to be able to program on your computer. And then you can use Claude Code or Codex or Cursor or whatever, kind of third-party system that you want to use. So that's the Arch Builder. And then just to kind of make the point, why don't I make a new Arch? I'll go into the chat mode, and I'll just show a couple other features around it. Again, I'm going to do separate videos that really kind of describe all this, but I'm going to say add a button into the middle of the screen. So it's really easy to build applications. You just type what you want, and so Fias AI is thinking. We've got it set up where you can look at desktop, tablet or mobile. You can see, your code or the preview. You can turn it into deep thinking, which costs a little bit more. But if you're kind of getting stuck or into a problem, you need the AI to think a little harder. You can, do those kinds of things. So done. A click me button is now centered in the middle of the screen. So now we have a button, and you can type down here what you want to happen when you hit the button. But I wanted to show some of this as well. So you, for example, can say then now I want to configure it, and so you could choose your arch's name, choose a short description, choose a longer description of what it's about, choose your pricing. There's a lot of different themes that you can use on your arches as well. So it doesn't have to be the basic Fias theme. You can make it look like whatever you want it to look like, and you can make it full screen where you could just build your own application. It's not really looking like it's in the Fias environment itself. It's just its own standalone page, and you can even build arches that have um, uh, you know their own kind of implementation that you then can bring into an iframe on your own website, for example. And you could figure out an arch icon. Actually, this is kind of neat. You could create your own arch icon with our arch icon generator arch itself. And so you say, what do I want to do with the icon? Well, we just did a button. And the description is it's a button, right? And so then you generate the icon on it. And one thing that's neat about this is it goes through and it figures out. We did all the work to figure out exactly what you need, what settings you need with what model to kind of get nice icons created. And this is true in general of what Fias I think is powerful is somebody can go through all the work of figuring things out, and then create that arch, and then just a regular user then comes and says, I need some type of capability, and they just get that capability, through what somebody else built. And so this is a good example of that, where we took the time to figure out how to implement this with AI, and now it's got it. And so now we've got it. I can use it as my arch icon, and it'll go and it'll save it. And now it's the arch icon for that arch when you publish it. So that is kind of the summary of the Arch Builder. And let's go back and explore a few other concepts. Okay, so why don't we next go through just some of the arches that we have on the platform, just to give you a feel for kind of what the platform does. And I'll switch back to light mode there. I'm going to go into the Arch store. I'll go into Browse All. And so here you can see some of the arches that we've gotten going. I'll just kind of talk people through a little bit of what we've got going. Now keep in mind, these are just the arches that we've made, and these are our internal arches. But if you start getting 50, then 100, and 1,000 people building arches, you can imagine where this turns into a really robust arch store that just covers all the different types of things one would want to do with any kind of AI application or any kind of AI created application, which is everything you would want to do with web apps. And so so for those of us that have kind of followed us over time, we've got our digital financial ecosystem. So we've built the whole DFE into the Fias system. So it's quite a few different games, and then you play games and you earn from them. That system had the Lit Legion, which has tasks. So it's a human task system where people can do tasks and earn. Some of them are fun, some of them are productive, and either way you earn. We've got different kinds of games. So here's Fjardle is kind of like our version of Wordle. We've got a bunch of different activities as well, where and utilities and tools, so you can create your own poll for your own community. You can organize your own community through our guilds. There's some more DFE applications. We've got a chat system, and you can have, if you create your own guild, you can have your own chat system with your own guild and your own friends. Guilds can also be places where you kind of work on different things. We've got a number of the original games themselves, the icon generator I showed, image generator I showed, some other games, Arch Builder I showed. There's some more games. We've got a full document signing capabilities as a business application. And again, you don't have to get a subscription. And so you can use this to implement what you would otherwise do on platforms like DocuSign, for example. We've got an image editor that's a full-fledged image editor. I'm going to do a whole entire separate, demonstration just on this one arch. This replaces Photoshop. I'm an expert in Photoshop, and I could, do an awful lot of stuff with it. And I don't need a Photoshop subscription anymore because I could just come to Fias and use the image editor. Some more of the DFE things, some more games. This one's neat. The to-do lists. It shows this one is to-do lists that you can use for yourself, but you also let's go in and take a look at it. So on this is on staging right now. I'm doing the demos on staging, but on prod, I've got a Fias roadmap. And so I did kind of this initial Fias roadmap. I'll just go into it. It was just kind of initial stuff. So I was just testing it on staging, early on. So I just put first and second, but you can add sections, you can add time frames on things. But the thing that really is powerful about this is we can use this in place of Jira as a professional application to manage your team. And so what you can do then is you can share, you can add users into it. And then once you've added users into the system, then any given item, then you can assign it to the person. And then you can go in and see everything that's completed. You can see it completed by, per person. So it's really kind of at a simple level, a to-do list, but as you implement, sharing and bring people in, it turns into a full-fledged, team coordination arch. And so let me go back into some of the other arches and just kind of finish out, kind of going through them. You can manage. So we have a tool that you can go through all the different AIs and change all the parameters on them and really learn how to get an AI specifically set to be able to use in your arch that you want to build. You can manage your calendar or your contacts. You could do all of your social media posts. So just sign into your Twitter account and you can schedule through the calendar. Again, we can manage the contact book. We've got liquidity caches, which is kind of a concept underlying some of the financial aspects of everything in the DFE. This arch is a pretty neat arch. You can use this to learn anything, and you can build courses. You can even spend some of your own credits to build a course, and then if other people use it, you can earn off of that as well. And then it takes you through a number of lessons for any given course. It has questions on it. It's just really just kind of a neat concept. You can manage your notes. We've got this full vault that manages all of your proprietary data across all the various categories that you have proprietary data. I'm doing a separate presentation from this that shows some of these business applications that we just made. We made the leads application, this Fias 360, our document signing arch, and we did a QuickBooks arch. And you don't see it here because it's a plugin that hasn't been published yet, but we did all 4 of those arches per a customer review in 5 days and built professional kind of enterprise level arches in that amount of time frame because we've got all the infrastructure to implement it. And so you'll see more details of those arches in a different presentation. One of our developers was going on a trip and he's like, I'm going to throw together a travel planner. So it's a nice AI aided travel planner. So you can see, and there's a bunch of arches that we don't have listed here on staging, again, that are more, plugin level arches. And you can get an idea of the breadth, but, man, once you start getting, again, starting with 50 and a lot of the beta people that we're wanting to get in right now, but again, turns into hundreds to thousands of people developing. It'll just turn into a very robust, broad app store with a number of professional applications that all live on the Fias platform. All right, so there is an overall first look at the Fias platform. Hopefully, people have liked having a look at it, checking it out. The platform has come together just amazingly well, amazingly quickly. It's crazy how quickly you can build robust software with AI now. And the platform is just a very powerful platform. And so I'm excited for people to start building off of it and just see what happens, how it grows, and how it evolves. So if you'd like to give it a try yourself, you can go to fias.io. Just go to our main site, and then at the top there's a button that's Try Fias, and then you can apply to join the beta. From the that link. Just put your name, your Telegram if you'd like. Describe a little about what you're wanting to do, submit the request, and we're letting people in, slowly into the beta platform as we're getting it going, and we'll open it up fully soon. But if you want a kind of a first look and a first use to start building your own arches, jump in to apply to join the Fias beta. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.